Let me give y'all some free game. You can't deal with nobody who don't got nothing to lose. Facts. If you dealing with somebody who don't care about going to jail, who don't care about losing their job, who don't care about keeping their kids, or whatever the case may be, who isn't goal-oriented and striving towards those goals, then you need to let that person go. Because you know what dealing with somebody who don't have nothing to lose does for you? Puts you in positions to where you could lose everything. It's not worth it. Let it.
The clock struck 2:30 a.m. A cry can be heard in the distance. Slumped on the cold pavement outside her apartment lay SPC Angel Connor. Blood pooled around her. She had just been shot 6 times as she attempted to flee her apartment. But this wasn't a robbery gone wrong or a hit job. Her final words to the responding officer would leave this entire military town in shock. She was a mother, a soldier, and a woman driven by love and ambition. Angel Connor seemed to have it all: a promising career, a bright future, and a son who adored her. But behind her radiant smile lay challenges no one could see. Just hours after speaking to her mother, Angel Connor's life was cut tragically short. On January 18, 2020, Angel, a 28-year-old Army specialist, was shot 6 times in her Lawton, Oklahoma apartment. The shooter? A fellow soldier she thought she could trust. What pushed a young soldier to take such a horrific step? Was this an act of passion, or a tragedy fueled by something far more sinister? And most chilling of all, what were Angel's heartbreaking final words to the officers who found her? Welcome to True Crime Depot, where we uncover the hidden truths behind tragedies that demand attention. Our mission is to bring light to stories that deserve to be heard, and to honor the voices that can no longer speak for themselves. If stories like Angel Connor's captivate you, we invite you to become a part of our growing family. Hit that subscribe button and join us as we explore more gripping and unforgettable cases. It was a cold and quiet night in Lawton, Oklahoma, when chaos suddenly broke the silence. Neighbors recalled the sound of shouting coming from Angel Connor's apartment, followed by the deafening echo of gunshots. When police arrived at the scene, they found Angel collapsed just outside her apartment, critically injured but still fighting to survive. In a final act of strength and bravery, Angel managed to tell the officers something shocking. Her words, captured on body cam footage, became a crucial piece of evidence that would seal the fate of her killer. The pieces of this tragedy would soon reveal a story of love, jealousy, and a relationship on the edge of collapse. Lawton, Oklahoma, a city nestled in the southern plains, where the wide-open skies meet a community shaped by history and service. Known for its connection to Fort Sill, one of the most prominent military installations in the United States, Lawton is more than just a town. It's a symbol of dedication and discipline. Fort Sill, with its sprawling training grounds and historic artillery units, isn't just a base, it's the heart of this close-knit community. Generations of soldiers have called this place home, finding camaraderie and purpose in the shadow of its storied walls. Outside the base, Lawton offers a quiet, family-oriented lifestyle. Its streets are lined with modest homes, local diners where everyone knows your name, and parks filled with the laughter of children. Life here moves at a steady, comforting pace, a stark contrast to the structured intensity of military duty. But even in this peaceful setting, not all is as serene as it seems. Beneath the surface of Lawton's harmony lie the silent struggles that can accompany military life. Long deployments, emotional strain, and the challenges of balancing duty with personal relationships. On the night of January 18, 2020, the tranquility of this military town was shattered by a single act of violence. In a city where the values of honor and service are upheld, the tragic events surrounding Angel Connor would send shockwaves through the community, leaving scars that would not soon fade. To know Angel Connor was to witness the purest kind of determination, a fire that burned brightly in everything she did, from the basketball court to the military field, and most importantly as a mother. Angel was born and raised in Cocoa, Florida, a small town brimming with character and a strong sense of community. From a young age, she was a force to be reckoned with. On the basketball court, she wasn't just good, she was exceptional. Coaches and teammates alike admired her skill, but it was her grit and leadership that truly set her apart. Whether it was a championship game or a casual practice, Angel brought her all, showing the kind of passion that left no doubt she was destined for greatness. But Angel's life was never just about her own ambitions. At the age of 22, she became a mother to a little boy named Stefan. That moment changed everything. Her dreams, her goals, her very purpose, they all revolved around him. Angel's love for her son was boundless. Every decision she made, every late night she endured, every sacrifice she embraced, it was all for Stefan. In 2011, Angel made a decision that would shape the rest of her life. She enlisted in the United States Army, trading the basketball court for the structured discipline of military service. It wasn't an easy transition, especially as a young single mother. But Angel was determined to give Stefan a stable and loving life, even if it meant shouldering the burden of long hours and the constant pull between duty and home. Outside of her career, Angel had a creative spirit that shone just as brightly as her drive. She loved makeup and hairstyling, finding joy in helping others look and feel their best. And in true Angel fashion, she didn't stop there. She became certified as a mixologist, another testament to her boundless ambition and flair for life. Angel's relationship with her parents, Gail and Jethro, was deeply special. Gail often called Angel her best friend, a confidant who never hesitated to share a laugh, a word of encouragement, or an ear to listen. Family wasn't just a part of Angel's life, it was the very core of who she was. In 2019, Angel re-enlisted in the Army full-time, ready to tackle the next chapter of her journey. She was preparing for an upcoming deployment to Dubai in 2020, a new adventure that filled her with both pride and anticipation. It wasn't just about her career, it was about creating a future, one where her son would have opportunities she had worked so hard to make possible. And it is through this lens, a lens of love, ambition, and selflessness, that we must remember Angel Connor, not just as a victim of tragedy, but as a woman who lived her life with purpose and heart. Richard Smith, at just 23 years old, was a soldier stationed at Fort Sill, the same military base where Angel Connor served. On paper, Richard's life seemed straightforward. Those who knew him described him as quiet, disciplined, and focused on his career. He was the kind of person who kept to himself, rarely giving others a glimpse into his personal life. Richard and Angel's relationship began about 9 months before that fateful night. At first, it seemed like the perfect match, two young soldiers navigating the challenges of military life together. Their shared experiences created a bond, but beneath the surface, their relationship was far from ideal. Angel, by her own admission to those closest to her, wasn't looking for a long-term commitment. Her focus was on her son, Stefan, and her career. For Angel, relationships were secondary to her ultimate goal of providing a stable and fulfilling life for her child. But for Richard, this dynamic may have been difficult to accept. As the months went on, their relationship began to change. Tensions arose. Jealousy, control, and frequent arguments seemed to dominate their time together. Those around Angel noticed the change in her demeanor, but like so many, she may have hoped the situation would improve. There's also speculation that Angel had planned to end the relationship, or perhaps had already made that decision. It's a detail that remains unclear, but one thing is certain. Richard's growing frustrations and insecurities were becoming impossible to ignore. As the relationship spiraled, so did the warning signs. What started as minor disagreements escalated into heated confrontations, creating an environment where mistrust and resentment festered. Whether it was jealousy over Angel's independence or anger at the thought of losing her, Richard's emotions appeared to be reaching a dangerous tipping point. In hindsight, those red flags, those moments of control, tension, and unchecked anger, paint a picture of a relationship teetering on the edge. A picture that, tragically, would come into devastating focus on January 18, 2020. It was the early hours of that fateful day, just past 2:30 a.m., when the quiet of the night in Lawton, Oklahoma was shattered. Hours earlier, Angel Connor had been on the phone with her mother Gail, sharing what would become their final conversation. Angel asked about her son, Stefan, who was staying with Gail that night. She wanted to know how he was doing, her voice filled with the familiar warmth of a devoted mother. Even Richard Smith, Angel's boyfriend of 9 months, had spoken briefly with Gail during that call. It all seemed normal, peaceful even. But in the silence that followed, things began to unravel. Inside Angel's apartment, an argument erupted between her and Richard. Voices were raised, tempers flared, and the tension that had been building in their relationship for months reached its breaking point. But what were they arguing about so late at night? A question that no one has been able to answer to this day. Angel tried to leave. She ran out of the apartment, desperate to escape the escalating confrontation. But Richard didn't let her go. He grabbed a handgun and chased after her into the cold night. What happened next was nothing short of horrific. Outside the apartment, Richard opened fire, shooting Angel multiple times. One of the bullets struck the back of her head, a devastating blow that brought her to the ground. Neighbors, awakened by the commotion, rushed to find Angel lying in a pool of blood, gasping for breath. When police arrived moments later, Angel was still conscious but fading fast. With what little strength she had left, she managed to identify her killer. Her voice, captured on an officer's body camera, was soft but unwavering. "Richard shot me." It was a final act of bravery, a determination to ensure the truth was known, even as her life slipped away. Angel was rushed to the hospital as first responders fought to save her. But the injuries were too severe. She succumbed to her wounds during surgery, leaving behind a grieving family, a shattered community, and a son who would never again feel his mother's embrace. Richard, still at the scene of the crime, stood motionless, offering no resistance as police placed him under arrest. Inside the apartment, investigators found the signs of a violent struggle: overturned furniture, bloodstains, and the handgun Richard used to end Angel's life. Bullet casings scattered across the floor painted a clear picture of what had unfolded. The most critical evidence, however, didn't come from the crime scene. It came from Angel herself. Her words, captured on a police body camera, sealed his fate. Forensics would later confirm what Angel's dying testimony already made clear. She had been running for her life, shot multiple times, including a bullet to the back of her head. The story Richard tried to sell, that he acted in self-defense, crumbled under the weight of the evidence. How do you chase after a lover, shoot them 6 times in the back while they flee, and call it self-defense? Witnesses who heard the argument and gunfire further solidified the case against him. Every piece of the puzzle pointed to one conclusion: this was no accident, no moment of panic. This was a deliberate act of violence, and there was no escaping the truth.
A man has now been charged for killing a soldier stationed at Fort Sill. Richard Smith is charged with first-degree murder, domestic abuse, assault and battery, and reckless conduct with a firearm. It happened last Saturday at an apartment complex on Southwest 52nd Street in Lawton. He's accused of killing Angel Connor, who was stationed at Fort Sill. Smith reportedly told investigators it started as a domestic argument before Connor punched him and pulled a knife on him.
That's when they say Smith pulled out a gun and shot her. She later died during surgery. Investigators say an officer heard 2 shots coming from the apartment complex, and when he got there, he heard 3 more and saw Smith running with a gun in his hand. He then had to force him to the ground. Smith's bond has been set.
The trial of Richard Smith began with a mountain of evidence stacked against him. Prosecutors wasted no time presenting their case, methodically laying out the facts. They showcased forensic evidence that revealed Angel was shot while trying to escape, witness testimonies that described the chaos of that night, and the most damning piece of all, Angel's own words identifying Richard as her killer. The defense clung to a claim of self-defense, arguing that Richard had acted out of fear, alleging that Angel had attacked him with a knife. But their case faltered at every turn. No knife was ever recovered from the scene, and forensic analysis contradicted Richard's version of events. How could self-defense explain a bullet wound to the back of Angel's head as she fled? For Angel's family, the trial was an emotional roller coaster, forcing them to relive the horrific details of her final moments. Gail Connor, Angel's mother, sat through every painful testimony, determined to see justice served for her daughter. After weeks of testimony and deliberation, the jury reached its verdict in February 2022. Richard Smith was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. It was a sentence that reflected the cold, deliberate nature of his actions, a verdict that offered Angel's family a measure of closure, though it could never undo the pain of losing her. For Angel Connor's family, the loss was an unfathomable blow. Her mother, Gail, often speaks about the void left by her daughter's absence, a deep, aching emptiness that words can scarcely capture. Angel was her best friend, her confidant, her pride. Now, Gail must navigate life without the daily calls, the laughter, and the warmth that Angel brought to everyone she touched. Angel's son, Stefan, was only 6 years old when his mother was taken from him. Too young to fully comprehend the tragedy, he faces a future without her guiding hand, her comforting hugs, or the fierce love that drove everything she did. For Stefan, Angel was his world, and that world was irreversibly shattered. The pain only deepened for the family when, just a few years later, Angel's father, Jethro, passed away. The date was Angel's birthday, a cruel twist of fate that added another layer of heartbreak to an already grieving family. But Angel's impact extended far beyond her immediate family. In her hometown of Cocoa, Florida, the community came together to honor her memory. Vigils were held, fundraisers organized, and a beautiful mural was created to celebrate her life as a mother, soldier, and role model. It was a testament to the indelible mark Angel left on everyone who knew her. For Angel's best friend, Shalisha Lachey Torbert, the loss was deeply personal. Shalisha, who shared a close bond with Angel, has since channeled her grief into her own creative work, finding strength in honoring Angel's legacy through storytelling and art. Their friendship, filled with shared dreams and unwavering support, remains a source of inspiration for Shalisha and those who hear their story. Angel's life, though tragically cut short, continues to resonate through the lives she touched. Her story reminds us of the strength of a mother's love, the sacrifices of a soldier, and the power of a community coming together to honor a life taken too soon. Angel Connor's story sheds light on a broader, often unspoken issue within military communities: domestic violence. Life in the military comes with unique stressors: long deployments, the pressure to meet rigorous expectations, and the emotional toll of balancing duty with personal relationships. These challenges can sometimes strain even the strongest bonds, creating an environment where underlying issues can escalate into violence. Statistics reveal that domestic violence within military families often goes underreported. Stigma plays a significant role. Many fear that seeking help could jeopardize their careers or harm their reputation within their units. This silence only deepens the isolation of those experiencing abuse. But resources do exist. Programs like the Family Advocacy Program and Military OneSource are designed to support military families, offering counseling, education, and tools to address conflict before it turns tragic. The key is breaking the silence, recognizing the warning signs, and intervening early to prevent heartbreak like Angel's. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, know that help is always available. The National Domestic Violence Hotline can be reached at 1-800-79-933, and for military personnel, Military OneSource offers confidential support at 1-834-2947. Angel's story deserves to be remembered. If her journey has touched you, please like, comment, and subscribe to help us honor her memory and raise awareness for others in need. Together, we can ensure her story inspires change.